Hello, everyone. We are Respira Polanco, a multidisciplinary team committed to understanding and transforming mobility in one of the most congested and polluted districts of Mexico City. Even though we all come from different areas like marketing, gastronomy, international relations, engineering, communication, and social responsibility, we all share the same daily experience. Moving through Polanco feels increasingly exhausting. Today, we want to show you why this issue goes beyond individual frustration and has become a systematic challenge that affects public health, productivity, environmental quality, and the overall well being of all residents and well of us.
Understand the scale of the problem, we began by mapping the quantitative data. According to the TomTom Traffic Index, Mexico City drivers lose up to 240 hours per year in traffic, and Polanco repeatedly appears among the top congestion hotspots in the metropolitan area. On the environmental side, SEDEMA reports that nearly 40% of days each year exceed safe PM 2.5 limits, and vehicular emissions remain one of the main sources of pollutants in the district. And despite Polanco's walkable urban layout, over 80% of local residents continue to rely on their private car for daily commuting, which perpetuates congestions, increases emissions, and reinforces a dependency loop that is extremely hard to break. Quantitatively, the system is already overstressed. Traffic is becoming slower, air quality is deteriorating, and car dependency remains in the dominant behavior.
But numbers only tell one part of the story. When we conducted interviews with residents, experts, and mobility stakeholders, we found something even more revealing. People are not attached to their cars. They are attached to predictability, safety, and control. Ana Paola, our buyer persona, explained that she uses her car daily simply because other alternatives feel unreliable or even disconnected. She described public transport as something she would like to use, but only if it felt clean, consistent, and professionally maintained. A mobility coordinator from Semovi told us that residents often perceive the system as fragmented, where walking feels unsafe, where bike lanes are interrupted, or even they are poorly maintained, and also where enforcement is inconsistent. Across other interviews, we heard recurring feelings of skepticism, stress, and frustration. These emotions are equally powerful indicators of system failure as the quantitative data.
When we map the system, we discover a troubling insight. Car dependency, congestion, and pollution reinforce each other in a self sustaining loop. More car leads to more congestion, congestion worsens air quality, and declining air reduces the appeal of walking or using micromobility options. But we also identified several leverage points, places in the system where a small, well designed intervention can trigger change. These include improving public transport quality, coordinating mobility incentives with companies, strengthening enforcement and maintenance with government, and restoring public trust through visible wins. In short, this is not a problem caused by one actor, but by many, and it will not be solved by one actor, but by many. Only a coordinated strategy between government, private companies, and residents can break these reinforcing loops.
Our solution is centered around Ana Paula, a 34-year-old professional who lives and works in Polanco and relies on her car every day. She reflects a much broader segment of residents who are not resistant to sustainable mobility. What they resist is uncertainty. For her, safety, time efficiency, cleanliness, and predictability are non negotiables. Unlike many who share her routine, she isn't opposed to driving less. She simply hasn't found an alternative that consistently meets the standards of her daily life demands. If those conditions were warranted, she and thousands like her would willingly shift toward cleaner modes of mobility.
Well, our value proposition is a hybrid mobility transformation program for Polanco, built around the three pillars that activate the leverage point that we identified along the project. The first one is the corporate mobility incentives. There are such as the parking cash out, the reward for the sustainable commuting, and also the flexible schedules to reduce the peak hour saturations. The second one is the smart transit upgrades that include the real-time tracking for the buses, the cleaner operations, and improve the last mile micromobility, and also like target the infrastructure fixes that directly impact the user safety and like also their reliability. And the third one is the stronger enforcement and and transparent communication that ensures the residents see the tangible improvement and also like trust the system and participate in all this evolution. So this is not like an isolated initiative, it is an integrated one. It's a multi-actor strategy that aligns the incentives, improves the infrastructure, and also create the conditions necessary for the behavior change.
And that is exactly what our program delivers. Corporate incentives encourage her to try sustainable options without feeling she is sacrificing comfort. Smart transit tools give her the predictability she needs to plan her day. Improved micromobility and safer walking conditions make short distance trips easier and more enjoyable. And collective coordination between companies and the government reduces peak congestions, which directly benefits her commute.
What already exists in Polanco and in CDMX more broadly are fragmented efforts, isolated backlines, separate transit routes, and occasional enforcement campaigns. Our approach is fundamentally different because it unifies all the government actions, corporate participation, and citizen behavior under one coordinated program. So, non existing initiative integrates these three elements simultaneously. This alignment is our differentiator, and it is what gives the program the real potential for long term impact.
Most mobility programs fail because they operate in silos. Each actor works alone, communication is weak, and improvements don't reflect what people actually fear or need. Our research showed that residents like Ana Paula aren't against sustainable mobility. They simply don't trust the system to be safe, clean, or predictable. The gap between policy and lived experience is exactly where most initiatives collapse. Respira Polanco is different because it integrates every actor, business, government, and residents, into one coordinated ecosystem. A proposal is built on real user insights and strengthened with data, ensuring infrastructure, incentives, and communication work together instead of separately. This is not another isolated mobility program, it's systematic, human centered transformation designed to replace vicious loops with virtuous ones.
Respira Polanco is measurable from the start. In the first 2 years, targeted interventions can reduce peak hour congestion by 10 to 15%, improve public transport perceptions, and generate the first visible drop in PM 2.5 levels. These early wins demonstrate that residents' change is tangible and that mobility can genuinely become more efficient and healthier. Over the medium and long term, success means a real shift in behavior. Fewer private cars, more sustainable mobility options, cleaner air, safer streets, and stronger alignment between public policy and community needs. Within 5 to 10 years, Polanco can evolve into a model district, proof that coordinated, data driven, and human centered mobility can reshape urban life in Mexico City.
To close, we want to extend a clear call to action to government agencies. Support and implement the infrastructure and regulatory components of this program. To companies in Polanco, adopt mobility incentives and flexible schedules to help reduce peak hour saturation. To residents and the public in general, your participation matters. Your choices, your pressure, and your voice gives legitimacy to this transformation. The faster way to change a system is when bottom up pressure reinforces top down action. Together, government, business, and citizens, we can turn Polanco into a model for mobility transformation in Mexico City.
Respira Blanco is more than a mobility proposal. It is a coordinated call to action to government, companies, and residents to finally shift the system that keeps our district congested and polluted. The data, the interviews, and the system map all point to the same reality. Without collective commitment, nothing changes. But when policymakers threaten enforcement, when companies adopt mobility incentives, and when residents, all of us, support cleaner community options, the entire ecosystem begins to transform. Today, we invite each of you to take a concrete role in this shift. Fund improvements, implement the programs, choose the sustainable options, and help turn Polanco into a district that breathes cleaner air, moves more efficiently, and becomes a living model of what a healthier, more sustainable Mexico City can be. Thank you so much.